All right, guys, welcome back to another video. If you're new here, you enjoy what you see, make sure to hit subscribe as I do release daily videos for gaming news. So let's jump into it right here first with a pretty interesting amount of information that has come out in terms of what Xbox's strategy is going forward, how they've been merging with Activision Blizzard, and just kind of where they're targeting to have their games. Now, the reality is there isn't anything too new from what we hear here, but the messaging can be kind of misunderstood and kind of annoying at the same time for people who are on the Xbox console. But let's go through it. So Tim Stewart, who is the Xbox Chief Financial Officer and Corporate Vice President of Finance and Operations, was talking at the Wells Fargo TMT Summit. So during this conference that was live stream, he talked about Xbox, he talked about their business and their plans, and just kind of the change that Xbox has gone through from obviously where everything was physical discs to now everything moving to digital and games as a service and subscription and all that type of stuff. So first of all, he does talk about AI, and AI, as we know right now, is a point of contention amongst people who talk about gaming, people in the industry themselves, because the biggest fear here for employees who develop games is that their jobs will become obsolete. They're going to lose their job because you're going to have AI that's going to be able to do it for cheaper and faster and potentially better. I'm not sure if that will happen, but definitely cheaper and faster. And Tim Stewart talks about the advantages of AI, but specifically for developers. Here's what he says. On the developer side, you think about the millions and millions of dollars in a game spent on localization, script, how you think about players moving from point A to point B, and you have non-player characters having dialogue. AI can take care of all of that. You now say, I need the player to get from A to B, and instead of having to write thousands of lines of scripting or code, you just have the AI get you from point A to point B. Things like localization and putting things in new languages. When we think about game testing, a million AI bots can run through a level of Minecraft and find where players get stuck, where they spend money, how they think about the level. So this is, pun intended, game changing for the developer. So that is a very interesting take. I mean, he's talking about how AI is going to be able to do some of the simple things, the monotonous things that you do when you're developing a video game, like moving characters, I guess, in from one section of the game to the next, where it's extra code that and extra time and resources that could be focused on creating more creative stuff when developing video games. Obviously, things like localization, just quickly being able to get games in different languages. There is definitely a lot of issues right now with localization, with a lot of games not coming out in languages and people not being able to experience them. So if AI is able to come in here and release games in a multitude of different languages, I just think at the end of the day that is a very good thing. And the other side of it, scripts with non-player characters. So as we know, NPCs, you're in these big open worlds, you're walking down the street or you're walking in an environment where you see an NPC, you go up to them. And generally, even right now in 2023, they're boring. They have maybe one line, or maybe they don't even really say anything at all. And I see a future where AI is going to be able to create just large dialogue trees with NPCs across the entire world, increase the immersion and make you feel like that world is truly living. So when I saw a lot of the outrage about AI and the partnership that Xbox is making and just AI getting into game development, I actually have a more positive outlook on how this is going to help games be for us as gamers and the consumers. Now, there are certain things here that if you're a developer probably that only does one or two things, only does game testing, those jobs potentially could be in jeopardy. And I can definitely see the concern there. But even here, when he's talking about game testing, how many times do we get games today that come out broken? If AI can go in there and then just fix the things that weren't able to be caught during the testing phase currently without AI, again, I think that is overall a positive thing for the industry and for gamers. So we'll see how this all works out. Of course, Tim Stewart is the financial officer. So I think at the end of the day, they probably are looking at how they're going to be able to cut costs with the implementation of AI. And that may end up being cutting some jobs out of the development of games, which would definitely be unfortunate for the people who would be affected by that. Now, he also goes on here and he talks about Minecraft and another thing here in terms of like how AI is going to help with getting people to be able to make games pretty much from anybody, specifically when it comes to mobile games. He says this: the barista at your local Starbucks has an awesome idea for a game, and then they can use Copilot and AI to go create a great mobile experience. And I think we will start seeing a lot more games that do come out from way more people. You kind of have to sit back and think about how the internet evolved, where when the internet first started, it was like the Wild West, and only a small amount of people were able to develop websites and be able to put stuff up there, because you really had to understand code. You really had to understand how everything worked. Now, essentially anybody can get on the internet and create something. They can create games with tools like Game Maker. They can create websites easily with just point and click. There's so many things now that make it very easy for people to do stuff that you would have needed a lot of knowledge and coding to do. And I do definitely see this coming to video games as well, where you're going to be able to just kind of say what you want, point and click what you want, and then be able to create games. Now, a lot of these games are going to end up being very bad, but I think you will get a few out of the amount of people that start using this type of stuff, some gems from people who just are creative but don't have the technical skill to actually go out and develop those games. So I think that would be pretty cool. He says here, we see you like these kind of games. Your friends play these kind of games. You should go play Dead Space and pick a game like that. And he's specifically talking about how AI is going to be able to suggest games better for people depending on the different games that they generally play. So he goes on about AI and stuff, and we don't really know yet how much that's going to have effect on the industry, but we will see going forward as it gets implemented inevitably more into the development of AAA games, AA games, indie games, and just the person, like I said, sitting at the Starbucks who has an idea and is able to go and just point and click and create that game. Now, next on, he talks about the Activision Blizzard acquisition. We know the deal's close, but we really haven't heard anything about it since the deal did close. The one thing that people are having their fingers crossed is that a bunch of games are going to be coming into the backwards compatibility program from Activision Blizzard and showing up on Xbox Game Pass with a major drop. We just saw Sarah Bond tease on Twitter with the Xbox 360 logo. This has people talking, thinking that there's going to be an announcement soon for Activision Blizzard games in the back catalog coming to Game Pass. I hope that is the case, or even if it's just other Xbox 360 games that they've decided to be able, that will enter the program and start doing the backwards compatibility program again. I hope that is actually a thing. But again, yeah, we will obviously wait and see, because she teases a ton on social media. But in terms of how the deal is transitioning in with Activision becoming a part of Xbox, he has this to say. But really, at the highest level, it's leveraging what Activision is good at, which is consoles and PC and mobile. How do we take that great DNA, make it an accelerant to the IP that we have, leverage the great assets that they have and expertise that they have? And thankfully, we both talk a gaming language, and even the few months since we've been an entity, the speed of which we've integrated and the speed at which we've worked together is really impressive. So I think that is good news. We did previously see the tour that Phil Spencer and co did, going around to the studios and just talking about gaming. So we'll see over the next year. We're really going to get some more information on how this deal is going to evolve Xbox. And obviously, they weren't lying when they were talking about mobile gaming. That's one of the main reasons they went out and did this. And Call of Duty is also going to have a huge effect. They do say this about Call of Duty in terms of the actual development of it. He says that Activision is capable of launching Call of Duty every year. And according to Stewart, that's a huge feat due to the amount of developers they have and the work that they put into it. And now Microsoft gets to ride along that wave with them. He added that learning from Call of Duty team has been very, very valuable. And I can see that because whether you're a Call of Duty fan or not, the reality is Call of Duty has some of the best shooting mechanics in first-person shooters. There's a reason why it's so addictive to people. It just feels great and it's a ton of fun. So if they can take that, merge it with like games like Halo and Doom that already have as well some of the best, if not the best, depending on the one you like more, shooting mechanics and first-person shooters, they can make some crazy stuff. I just imagine a brand new IP from Xbox with the minds of Call of Duty, the minds of Halo, the minds of Doom coming together and creating a brand new game. I think that would just be insane. So I hope that's something that does eventually happen down the line. Now, and as well, when he talks about them being able to make Call of Duties every year, I'm still of the opinion that they should be spreading out Call of Duties going forward. After 2024, after that year, after the rumored Gulf War game, maybe let that one last for 2 years before bringing out the next one. I think that would people would be playing Gulf War or the current year Call of Duty for longer than a single year. But again, they know they can make a ton of money by releasing a game every single year, which is why they do it. He also talks about World of Warcraft and mentioning that subscription is a high margin business. So that brings in a high margin business into a traditionally lower margin business when you think about the Xbox console and hardware. I mean, we've been talking about this now for 3 years. Reason why you're seeing PlayStation pivot, the reason why I think Xbox has the correct strategy is because they have put their games everywhere. The way to make the most amount of money isn't locking games to a console. And we are absolutely seeing that strategy that PlayStation is holding on to backfire as they are pivoting and trying to increase their profit margins. Xbox already has that now, and they're going to get more of that with games like World of Warcraft. So now this is where it kind of gets confusing, I think, for a lot of people, or the messaging is bad. Although it isn't really anything new, he talks about where he wants the Xbox games. He says, that means smart TVs, that means mobile devices, that means what we would have thought as competitors in the past, like PlayStation and Nintendo. We're going to NVIDIA's GeForce Now, their gaming subscription service. So a lot of people were talking about this on social media in terms of, does this mean Xbox is becoming a third-party publisher? And no, it does not mean Xbox is becoming a third-party publisher. All this means is he's reiterating what we already know about Xbox, is that they want their games on everything. Games from Xbox are already on Nintendo, and Call of Duty is going to be on Nintendo. Tons of games for Xbox are already on PlayStation, and Call of Duty and other Activision games are going to continue to be on PlayStation. That's what he's referring to here. But I think that where the messaging gets a little confusing for people in the Xbox community is for the people on consoles specifically, because Xbox hasn't been the best at making the console players feel like they are the core fan base of Xbox, at least in the last couple of years, because they're trying to expand out everywhere else. I don't think it means they're going to abandon console. I think it would be absolutely insane to abandon console for that matter. I think it would be insane to let the console versions of games, or just let the console players fall behind PC and everywhere else, because that is the core of their business. That is where their most loyal fans are. That is where the most rabid fan base for Xbox is. It's the people that go out and buy the console. And Xbox knows this. That's just kind of the reality of it. They know that their most loyal fans are on Xbox. So they are spending more resources and more time trying to get people into the ecosystem from the places where they have to try a little bit harder to get people to sign up to Game Pass and to check out the Xbox ecosystem. Because if you have an Xbox, you're most likely going to check out and sign up for Xbox Game Pass. And if you've been playing on Xbox now for years, you're in their ecosystem and you're kind of already ingrained in there with your friends and your gamer score and stuff. So they know it's harder for those consumers to leave, which is why you see a lot of them which is why you see them a lot trying to reach out more to the PC and the mobile and the cloud side of things. I don't think it means they're abandoning Xbox. I don't think they're becoming a third publisher. I think that's absurd. And we will see another Xbox console next generation. In fact, we'll probably see another Xbox console this generation. We saw the leaks of the Series X digital. So all of this talk you're seeing on social media of third party and they're abandoning Xboxes, I don't think that's going to come to fruition. They would not abandon millions and millions of players of their most loyal fan base. It just makes no sense whatsoever. So that was something a lot of people were talking about because of the messaging. They aren't good at messaging at times. They mess it up. They don't clarify exactly what they want. They get people having to have these types of discussions because, again, Xbox players are their most rabid and loyal fan base, and they want to make sure that they are always going to be looked out for going forward. Now, he talks also about other stuff here in terms of the value of Game Pass and how they know that the consumer providing value is the most important thing, like paying the $17 a month. You get hundreds and hundreds of games, and just kind of more business talk here at the end. And one thing that's very interesting is how him and Phil Spencer walked into Sadia's office and really pitched why Xbox needs to be in gaming. He says this: success for us is if we can keep growing that content and services revenue double digits. If we can grow faster than the market is growing, we are talking share in the gaming market. And that's where we want to be. It's a $250 billion market. We are not $250 billion. Early on, we walked into Satya's office. Phil Spencer, who runs Xbox, and I, we had both taken our jobs about the same time, and we'd known each other for a decade before that. We're like, let's go do this gaming thing. We walk into Satya's office. We say, hey, we're going to spend $2.5 billion on the thing called Minecraft. Jokingly, he says, a blocky game, you chop down trees, $2.5 billion for this thing. And it turns out one of the best acquisitions ever made in history. And continues here. And Satya says, I don't want to talk about Minecraft. Tell me why we're in gaming. We put down the deck we had for the acquisition. And that was a moment for Satya, Phil, myself, and Amy Hood of why is Microsoft in gaming? That was 8 or 9 years ago. And the answer really is, why is Microsoft in any business? It's a big and growing market that we have an ability to take and win share. And that's why we do gaming at Microsoft. Of course, we can leverage assets. And of course, we need consumer brands at Microsoft that are meaningful. In my opinion, you can't just be all commercial led. You have to have a good consumer lens too. But in the end, it's grow share in a big and growing market. And that's what we're here to do. So he says it in plain English there. I mean, they are looking to make as much money as possible. If anyone ever doubted that Xbox isn't competing, I think right there puts those doubts to rest. They are just trying to grow their share in the market as much as possible. I know Phil Spencer, nice guy, always comes out and plays down how they're competing and plays down how they want everyone just to thrive together. But the reality is they see that they are able to grow now, and they see that there's a ton of market share out there that hasn't been captured. And this is why they are doing what they're doing with the acquisitions of Activision, the acquisitions of Bethesda, putting more games into Game Pass. They want to make sure that they have the most market share and be a market leader at the end of the day. So when people talk about competition, them not competing enough and them being Mr. Nice Guy, the reality is that's just the front face that they put on. They're out there, they're trying to be ruthless, and they're trying to grow in the gaming market. So I thought that was a very interesting amount of information, very insightful for how the Xbox business works. And you know what? That is a very long start to today's video. So this may be a very long video, but I'm going to continue talking about other stuff that happened in the news. That one just had a lot of stuff to go over. And we will move on here and we will talk here about something that isn't so great about Xbox. And it's the Microsoft rewards. As we know, Xbox has been nerfing the rewards over the last little while. Not too sure why. Don't know if they're getting ready for a revamp or if this is going to be permanent. We see that they are taking away the Microsoft Rewards app on the Xbox itself. You're going to have to move over to the Xbox app, which took away people's weekly streaks. And now there is some more stuff here that is not good. Apparently, Microsoft Rewards is getting hit again with another nerf to the way that you can earn points, and that is the removal of the Microsoft Edge exclusive points. Unfortunately, this looks like this is where they're going. I'm hoping this is going to end up in a revamp. I'm very skeptical and doubtful of that, but we will see, because one of the coolest things about playing on Xbox is, and just being a part of the Microsoft ecosystem, was you got a lot of stuff for free if you actually went out and collected your rewards. Like, I've gotten so many months of Xbox Game Pass from free just from my Microsoft rewards. And if I'm going to start seeing that fall down, that's going to suck. So we'll see how this happens going forward. And if this is something that, like I said, they're removing it now, they're making changes, and they'll come back with a better, more cohesive system. Because I have to say, the Microsoft rewards, the Xbox rewards, and all these different names was kind of confusing. Maybe that's kind of what they're doing, but who knows? Now, when it comes to a leak that got posted on the Xbox Store, this one I'm pretty excited about. We know that they're still working on the new Beyond Good and Evil. Who knows if that's really ever going to come out from Ubisoft. But if you're waiting to play that, here's something that may be able to quench your thirst for it. And that is Beyond Good and Evil 20th Anniversary Edition, confirmed after Ubisoft mistakenly released it early. So there was multiple leaks. It was showing up within stores. I believe it showed up within the Microsoft Store as well. Actually, it says here, after the first few days, Xbox achievements for the title appeared online and was also spotted on the Microsoft Store. And Ubisoft comes out now and confirms. They say, well, looks like the cat's out of the bag, dang nabbit. Happy 20th anniversary to Beyond Good and Evil. While we cannot wait to show you more about this special edition, more news to come in early 2024. An early development version of Beyond Good and Evil 20th anniversary edition was recently released to some Ubisoft Plus subscribers by mistake. We apologize for any confusion and want to assure our community that this version is not indicative of the final game. As we celebrate the 20th anniversary of Beyond Good and Evil, our commitment to delivering a game that meets the high expectations of our fans is unwavering. We're excited to announce that the official launch is set for early 2024, and we're dedicated to making it an experience that truly honors the legacy of the original. Thank you for your understanding and continued support. I have a feeling they were probably going to announce this at the Game Awards. Now, they still may announce it, but it's not going to be nearly as exciting for people who are a fan of this game. I think they're trying to hold people over while they still go ahead and do the new one. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about the Xbox update. There is the November update. Nothing too crazy here, but one thing I'm very happy about is that they are bringing over the compact mode for the Xbox app on PC. And if you're somebody like me who has a Steam Deck or an Asus ROG Ally or a Lenovo Legion Go, or you have any handheld device that has the Xbox app on there from the desktop version, it was extremely cumbersome to use, and now they're giving a better experience and making things just more streamlined and should look better on a handheld device. So there are a couple of changes here that they say. The notifications and banners, they say, with new games and benefits coming to Game Pass all the time, we're making it easier to keep up with what's new by giving you the option to show only unread notifications, the notification drop down on the Xbox on PC app. There will also be additional improvements. So for a more streamlined experience when diagnosing and troubleshooting, they've added the new gaming service repair tool. So, I mean, if you've had ever any issues with games, that will be good. You can kind of see here what that new version of the mobile will look like. You can see the bar is much smaller on the side and just looks more like something that would be used on a mobile device. So very happy about that. They also say, we're also partnering with Asus and other manufacturers to ensure the combat mode is enabled by default on your handheld devices. And you can see them working with these third-party manufacturers of these devices, because one of the major selling points, you see it in the marketing for getting an Asus ROG Ally, is having Xbox Game Pass in there. So smaller mode, sidebar collapsing, easier for notifications and all of this type of stuff. And hopefully will just be an overall better experience out there. So very happy to see that. That was the main update for November, but there's also an update here for Japanese language support for physical and virtual keyboards. So not a crazy November update, but if you're somebody who's using Game Pass on a mobile device, you'll be happy about that. All right, let's jump over here and let's talk about Netflix and their gaming service. As we know, we've heard Xbox come out in the past and say that there are other competitors besides PlayStation that they have to worry about. There are bigger competitors now. Netflix could potentially at some point end up being a competitor that they have to look out for, and they're continuing to expand out their gaming service. And they just announced that their biggest gets so far into their gaming side of Netflix, which is included with your Netflix subscription, is going to be the Grand Theft Auto Trilogy, the definitive edition. So this is going to be coming to the subscription. Like I said, if you're subscribed to Netflix, you're going to be able to jump in and play this game. You can pre-register for the game starting on iOS and Google Play. All of these games are going to be able to be played right through your phone, which isn't a surprise. You've been able to play these older Grand Theft Auto games for a while now on your Android or Apple devices. Now the trilogy will be available on December 14th, and this kind of adds to the list of stuff that they are adding. Now, it's not the biggest games in the world, but I can see a time where they start adding bigger games, maybe even AAA games down the line. You're saying, well, how can they add AAA games? Well, we've seen with the new iPhone, the ability to play these AAA games. It's not at a place right now where it's the place you would want to actually play games like Resident Evil, but at a time in the future when it is becoming more mainstream for people with their smartphones to be able to play AAA games, obviously at lower resolutions and FPS and stuff, not going to look as good as the PC or the console versions of the game. I could see Netflix jumping in there and trying to get more bigger games onto the service. But right now they have games like Kentucky Route Zero, Before Your Eyes, Oxenfree games, Immortality, Spitfire, and Dead Cells. And next year, though, we're bringing Katana Zero, Death's Door, and Hades to the service. So this is going to be a subscription service that brings in people who probably don't have gaming as their number one pastime, number one hobby that they like to do when they relax. It's going to be people jumping in to Netflix to watch something and then be enticed over when they see a game catalog, a game that they've heard of before, maybe one that's piqued their interest. They'll jump in and start gaming that way. So they're going to be going out there and getting a broader range of people. I think there's a broader range of demographics that you're going to find jumping into Netflix, whereas gaming isn't as broad. I mean, there's still a bunch of different genres, different types of games people play, and it's expanding out. But Netflix obviously appeals to an overall broader demographics than you would get for Xbox Game Pass, and they're going to be able to tap into that, which is something I think Xbox wants to do, is get into that category, which is why they're working on their mobile store and their mobile games and stuff like that. But I thought this was pretty cool, and we'll continue to see the Netflix subscription expand. And finally, Xbox always has to do this to me after I've recorded a video or after I've got all my topics listed out. They have to come with a shadow drop of some sort that is really awesome to see. Last night, just out of nowhere, Xbox drops Remnants from the Ashes and Remnant 2 into Xbox and PC Game Pass. They are there right now if you want to go download and play them. And this is just another example of the insane value that Game Pass does bring to gamers. I wonder how many people are going to know about this because they shadow dropped it. There's no marketing. I wonder if they're going to add marketing later down the line with their next Game Pass announcement. But there's going to be a lot of people that have no idea that these games are on Game Pass. But if you're watching this, now you know. Pretty cool to see Xbox shadow drop this for everybody at the end of the year. But I'm going to end the video there, guys. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up. If you are new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.